And a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome to a Friday afternoon of Big Ten softball on btnplus.com. I'm Jerry Koala. It's the University of Iowa Hawkeye softball team traveling to West Lafayette, Indiana to square off against the Purdue Boilermakers. What a match this will be here for the entire weekend. This afternoon's game is the first of the 4-game set, a doubleheader tomorrow, and then a single game on Sunday. Purdue comes into the 4-game series with a 4-8 record, and the Iowa Hawkeyes come in with a 7-5 record. Overall, Purdue, in their last outing, of course, they down in Leesburg, Florida, much like the Iowa Hawkeyes were 2 weekends ago. The Boilermakers lost 2 to Nebraska, winning the second of the 3-game set. And they also lost 2 to Maryland, winning the second of that 3-game set as well. But this is a Purdue softball team that is hot and cold. Boy, when they're on, they are really on, get some decent pitching. But when they're off, very hittable, and they just kind of sink at the plate. The Iowa Hawkeyes come in with a 7-5 record. Hawks doing it at the plate, doing it at the field, getting some solid pitching from Sarah Lehman, Allison Ducey, Lauren Shaw, to name 3 of the 4 athletes that are in the circle for the Hawks. Iowa coming off a big weekend 2 weekends ago where they took 5 of the 6 games that they played. They swept the Penn State Nittany Lions 5-1, 6-5 in 12 innings, and 2-0 in 8 innings. Then they won 2 of 3 from Maryland, winning game 1, 1-0 in 8 innings, losing the second game 3-2, but winning the third game with the Maryland Terrapins 4-3, that also in 8 innings. 4 of those 6 games that the Hawks played 2 weekends ago went into extra innings, and Iowa won all 4 of them. Some very interesting decisions, some calls that helped that Hawkeye team win those games, but as well, they had some good hitting at the plate. Grace Baines with a walk-off single that scored Arilee Bogar from third base in a win over the Penn State Nittany Lions. And then it was Nia Carter and Arilee Bogar doing a double steal in the bottom of the 8th inning to win a game against the Maryland Terrapins. So Iowa really is coming along nicely this softball season. In spite of the 7-5 record, they could easily be 10-2 coming into this weekend, if not 12-0, because they did lose in their first weekend in Florida. They did win only 2 of the 6 games played there, but 2 of those losses for sure should have been wins. But that's the way it is. And these teams, Iowa has come back each and every weekend after the weekend's play that next week and worked on those things that they needed to improve on, which they've done, and they're got a head of steam going into this weekend series with the Purdue Boilermakers. Sarah Lehman will get the nod today in the circle. Sarah really having a nice senior season. She's 4-1 coming into today's circle in West Lafayette, Indiana, to pitch for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And for Sarah, her last outing was against the Maryland Terrapins in that 8-inning game. She went all 8 innings, gave up 7 hits, 3 runs. 2 of them were earned, 4 walks, and she struck out 3. She threw 115 pitches, but it was a win for Sarah and this Iowa Hawkeye softball team. Sarah really getting more comfortable and stronger in that circle here in her senior season. She is out of Iowa City, Regina. She has pitched 36 innings total coming into today's matchup. She's given up 21 hits, 8 runs. 6 of them have been earned. She's walked 10 and struck out 25, but she really has a sizzling ERA of 1.17 on the season coming in. The Hawks will start at the plate with Nia Carter. Nia Carter on a tear again this year, batting at .386 through the first 12 games a year ago. And as the pandemic halted play, she was batting at .509, starting 19 of 21 games played last year, 28 hits and 55 at-bats for Nia Carter, sophomore out of Rancho Cucamonga, California, and she's playing right field. Riley Sheehy will be playing left field. Riley Sheehy also having a nice junior season. The left fielder out of Newtown, Pennsylvania. She'll be batting second and playing left field. Grace Baines is batting third and playing shortstop for the Hawks here today. Grace, a 5'7" freshman from Kansas City, Kansas, batting third in the lineup. Denali Lecker will be playing first base today. Denali having a nice freshman year out of the Ogden area, just south and west of Ames. 5'10" utility player. She can play multiple positions, and she also can get in the circle and pitch, as evidenced in her high school career when she led Ogden to a state title. Lindy Milkowski will be behind the plate today and batting fifth. Lindy with a game-winning hit against the Maryland Terrapins to help the Hawks win that third game of that three-game series with the Maryland Terrapins. Lindy Milkowski batting .316 and batting fifth in the lineup today. Kalena Burns will be the designated player. Kalena is batting sixth in the lineup, sophomore from Corona, California. Having another nice year for the Hawks. She had a pretty stellar 2020 season before the pandemic hit, where she had 29 hits and 72 at-bats. And among those 29 hits were 6 doubles and 5 home runs. She batted .403 a year ago. Arilee Bogar, the senior, will be playing second base. As she normally does, she has bounced around from short to second base, but second base is her common position. Arilee having a decent senior season. She didn't play in the first weekend that the Hawks went down to Florida, but she made her presence known in the second weekend down there, scoring a winning run, hitting in a winning run with a triple that she hit against Penn State in game number 2 of that weekend series against the Penn State Nittany Lions, in a game the Hawks won in overtime. Arilee Bogar batting 7th in the lineup. Ashley Hamilton will be playing third base today. Now, you're wondering, now why would Ashley be playing third base? Well, because she can. She played third base in high school, and the Hawks do have a number of shortstops that they can use, and Grace Baines has been doing a fine effort at shortstop already in her freshman year. And Ashley Hamilton will be batting 8th, playing third base. Brody Klosterman, the freshman out of North Liberty, is batting 9th and playing center field. Well, we're having a few technical difficulties from West Lafayette, Indiana. So we'll try to get that rectified here and get things rolling. The Hawks have already had some Carter grounded out to second base, and Sheehy has singled to right to get the Hawks off to a rolling start here in this first inning. And Denali Lecker now has doubled to bring in Riley Sheehy to give the Hawks a 1-0 lead here already in the top of the first inning. Grace Baines has flown out to second base for the second out of the inning for the Hawks. And that brings up Lindy Milkowski batting 5th. Hard-hitting catcher for the Hawks. Iowa leading it 1-0. Already in the top of the first inning, getting things rolling. So Lindy Milkowski has drawn a 2-out walk, which puts runners at first and second for the Hawks. That is Denali Lecker at second base after clubbing a double. And Kalena Burns has singled to the left side of the infield and has moved Milkowski up to second base and Denali Lecker to third. Bases loaded for the Hawks with 2 outs and in the top of the first inning. Going to bring up the senior, Arely Bogar. Arely coming in with a 50.050 batting average. 1 hit in 20 at-bats. Again, she didn't make the first weekend appearance in Florida when the Hawks faced Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, but did make the trip on the second time down against Penn State and Maryland with those 6 games. Had just 1 hit in those 20 at-bats, but had a triple and a 2 RBI triple at that to score a run, put her at third base, and that was followed. Grace Baines would follow that with a game-winning single. And Arely has grounded out to second base to end this Iowa top of the first inning. But the Hawks do score a run, leave 3 on base. Bases were loaded when that third out occurred. And so Iowa does take a 1-0 lead heading into the bottom of the first inning. Purdue will be coming to bat. And a cloudy day in West Lafayette, Indiana. 52 degrees. Temperature not supposed to get up too much above 52 degrees, but certainly playable weather for this Big Ten softball game between the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Purdue Boilermakers. Sarah Lehman in the circle for the Hawks here to begin this game. And Sarah's last outing, as I'd mentioned, was against Maryland in the 8-inning game when she won that game. It moved her record to 4-1 on the season. Allison Ducey also pitching. And Denali Lecker has seen some time in the circle along with Lauren Shaw. So the Hawks in the field here, leading this game 1-0 as we head into the bottom of the first inning. And it'll be Rachel Becker, that is, starting this at-bat off for the Purdue Boilermakers. And Rachel Becker on a tear out of those first 12 games. Through those 12 games, she's been hitting at a 500 pace. Left-handed slap hitter, 19 hits and 38 at-bats. Here's one that she'll swing and foul into the backstop off of Sarah Lehman. This is her third year. She's a junior. Is Rachel Baker, junior out of Lindenhurst, Illinois. 19 hits and 38 at-bats. 5 doubles. She has popped a home run, so she's got some power in that bat. Here's the 0-1 to her from Sarah Lehman. That's now 1 ball and 1 strike. Beautiful stadium Purdue has here. Built, it opened up in 2015. Here is the 1-1 that is fouled back, so it's a ball and 2 strikes. And here's one that Becker will ground to Arilee Bogar, and Arilee promptly picks it up and gets it over to first base, where Denali Lecker gloves it. And it's the first out of the inning for the Purdue Boilermakers. It'll bring up Cora Bassett. Bassett, the sophomore, playing third base, batting .375 coming in. She with 15 hits and 40 at-bats. She and Rachel Becker, the only 2 double-digit hitting players on this Purdue softball team currently. And their batting numbers 1 and 2. Her first pitch is up and in on her, so it's 1 ball and no strikes. Sarah Lehman, the senior, out of Iowa City Regina High School. Again, a 4-1 record. She has started 5 games, made 5 appearances, and she has 5 complete games thrown. She's down in the count now at 2 balls and 1 strike on the 1-0 pitch. Here is the 1-1, a pitch that is a little bit high. Umpires aren't too forgiving at this point. I guess that'd be a good thing to have a tight strike zone. Got to give a little leeway, though, to those corners if you can get the pitch on it. Here is the 2-1. That is called strike 2 on Cora Bassett. Bassett, a year ago in the 2020 season that was abruptly halted by the pandemic, started 15 of the 25 games she played, had 17 hits and 57 at-bats. Takes a good swing at one and misses, and is down on strikes. That's ball or strike 2, so it's a full count on Cora Bassett. Here's one that she again takes a good sharp cut at and just fouls it into the backstop. So the count remains the same. As I was talking about, this softball facility that opened up in 2015, as Sarah steps into the circle now to try to take down Cora Bassett on this 3-2 pitch. Here it is, a pitch that's up and away, and Bassett will draw a walk on Sarah Lehman. And that is the 4th walk of the year for Cora Bassett. Sarah, on the other hand, her 11th walk in her 5 starts. And it brings up Kylie Goff, freshman catcher. Goff, the 4th leading hitter on this team, batting .281, 9 hits and 32 at-bats coming into today's game. Here's the first pitch to her that's down and in. Now, Lindy Milkowski behind the plate has really done an awesome job of picking off runners. trying to score from steal bases. Here is the 1-0 that Goff will line down the right field line, and right there to make the catch about midway down the line and the 210 right field wall is Nia Carter. 2 gone in Purdue's bottom of the first inning. Corey Bassett on first base after drawing a walk from Sarah Lehman, and it brings up Riley Plostic. Here is the first pitch to Riley Plostic, the junior right fielder. Plostic, the third leading hitter on this team with a .360 average. 9 hits and 25 at-bats. She has scored 3 times. No extra base hits. And she has 3 runs batted in. She batting cleanup in the lineup for Purdue today. Here's the pitch. That is just off the plate. So it's a ball and a strike. As I was mentioning, the Hawks are first in the Big Ten in stolen bases allowed percentage at just .588. They're tied for first with nailing 7 runners attempting to steal base. Here comes another one, and making it to second base is Cora Bassett. A nice throw, though, from Lindy Milkowski, getting it to Grace Baines, but just a tad bit late. So Cora Bassett will steal the 5th base of the season. She was 4 for 4 coming in. She's now 5 for 5. Runner at second. 1-1 count on the junior Riley Plostic. Plostic from St. John, Indiana. She also a 3-year player. A year ago batted .276, starting 13 of the 20 games she played at 8 hits and 29 at-bats. She did hit a triple and a home run. Here's the 1-2 that's up and away. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on Riley Plostic. Plostic played in her freshman season as well. Had a .235 average. She did start 6 games of the 53 played with 8 hits and 34 at-bats. Here's the 2-2 from Sarah Lehman, a pitch that Plostic will foul into the backstop. Had a chance to be at this softball stadium 2 years ago. That in Renee Gillespie's first season as the Hawkeye head softball coach. It opened up in 2015. Part of a $13 million stadium renovation that was part of the Mackey Complex. It's a $13 million stadium as part of that Mackey Complex. So Purdue investing large amounts of dollars to help many of the non-revenue sports. And here is a pop-up behind the plate that Lindy Milkowski will chase down and make the grab, and that will end Purdue's bottom of the first inning. They do get a runner on. She steals second base and is stranded there at the end of this inning. Iowa leads at 1-0 as we head into the top of the second inning. And for the Hawks, coming to the plate will be the number 8 hitter, Ashley Hamilton, followed by Briley Klosterman and Nia Carter. So Purdue has in their circle today Sydney Bates, redshirt senior, a 1.70 ERA. She has started 3 games of the 5 that she's made an appearance in. She's 2-2 on the season. She has but 1 complete game. She, the leading innings pitcher of innings for Purdue at 24.2 coming in, giving up 27 hits, 9 runs, 6 of them have been earned. She's walked 9 and struck out 15. And Bates last pitched in the second game of the 3-game series 2 weekends ago against the Maryland Terrapins. in which Purdue would score 2 in the bottom of the 7th inning to win that game, but Bates went all 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, a run that was earned, a walk, and she struck out 6, facing 26 batters. Sydney Bates, redshirt senior from Davie, Florida, in the circle, facing Ashley Hamilton. Senior playing third base here today, and Ashley looks at a pitch that's at the knees. Ashley comes in with a batting average of no record. Here's a pitch that is up and away. The catcher tries to make an appeal down the first base line, and forgetting that Ashley Hamilton is a left-handed hitter. There was no swing there. Ashley has had 8 at-bats coming into today's game. No hits. She scored a couple of runs. She has started 3 of the 5 games she has played, looking for her first hit of 2021. Here's a pitch. It's an off-speed pitch that's down and away. Bates, a year ago, in the pandemic-shortened season, was 9-4 for Purdue. She started 13 of the 16 appearances she made, 10 complete games pitched, 86 innings. So she's certainly a solid pitcher. Here's a very high bounder that's right up the middle, and Ashley Hamilton is on first with a base hit for the Hawks here today. Her first hit of the 2021 softball season, and that was right up the middle, but a very high bounder that neither the second baseman, Kendall Chase, or the shortstop, Rachel Becker, could get to, and Ashley lopes into first base and begins the Hawkeyes' top of the second inning with a single. I'll bring up Briley Klosterman. She turns, squares to bunt, pulls the bat back as the ball is high. Pitch is high, so it's ball 1 on Briley Klosterman. Klosterman's last at bat, her last hit, she had 2 hits in the final game against the Penn State Nittany Lions. One of those hits was for an RBI. Here's a pitch that's a breaking pitch that she tried to stab at to bunt, and she can't get it down. So it's 1 ball and 1 strike on the freshman, Briley Klosterman, out of North Liberty. A 192 batting average coming into today's game. She's played every game at center field, so she certainly is getting her experience quickly. Here's the pitch that is just off the plate on that outside. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Sydney Bates, redshirt senior, also plays in the field when she's not batting, as does Ashley Peters, another pitcher that Purdue will use this weekend. Here's another pitch that's laid down right in front of home plate. And nice charge and pick up and scoop by Cora Bassett to get Briley Klosterman just at the tape of first base. But it does move Ashley Hamilton to second base on the sacrifice bunt. And there's 1 out. That ball was bunted right in front of home plate. And Briley Klosterman darn near beat it out. Nia Carter steps to the plate. She's grounded out to second base in her first at bat. Here is the offering from Bates. A drop pitch, if you will. Boy, that tailed off down and away. Nia Carter coming into the weekend, a .386 hitter. 17 hits in 44 at-bats. Had a string. A 6-game hitting streak that was snapped in the first game of the Maryland series. And here's a pitch that's up and away from her. A ball and a strike. And in that 6-game hitting streak, 5 of those games were multi-hit games, all 2-hit games. She has 6 2-hit games. She has 1 3-hit game on the season. There are 3 games of the 12 she's played that she has not got a hit. So she can put the ball in play like she does right here. And a line drive to the second baseman, Kendall Chase, who flips it over to Rachel Becker and forces Ashley Hamilton at second. She didn't get back in time. And so a quick double play will end the Iowa Hawkeye top of the second inning. So the Hawks send 3 to the plate. They get a single from Ashley Hamilton to begin the inning, but she's stranded at second and her own base running miscue, where she is doubled up at second base to end this inning for the Hawks. No runs, a hit, one left, and the Hawks still lead this game 1-0 as we head into Purdue's bottom of the second inning. So Sarah Lehman in the circle for the Hawkeyes for the first of a 4-game set between the Hawks and the Purdue Boilermakers. Certainly we'll see Sarah again later this weekend. We'll see Allison Ducey, we'll see Lauren Shaw, and we'll see Sarah Lehman again. A nice trio of pitchers that Coach Renee Gillespie has been able to assemble. Lehman, of course, being a transfer from Coe College, spending her freshman year at Coe playing volleyball. Shaw, been with the Hawks for 4 years, missed 2 years ago. And for her senior season, so great experience in the circle for the Hawks. Here's the first pitch from Sarah Lehman to Alex Echezarreta, junior first baseman. Echezarreta. Here is one that she'll pool cue right out the end of the bat. And no numbers on Echezarreta from the plate. She's down in the count at no balls and 2 strikes for the 4-8 Purdue Boilermakers, hosting the Iowa Hawkeyes in a 4-game series this weekend. There's the pitch that's away that Echezarreta will not chase. The junior from Reston, Virginia, batting in the number 5 spot here today. Here's one that she'll hit off the fist right to Arely Bogar. And Arely quickly picks it up and on to Denali Lecker at first. And the Hawks have one out here in the Purdue bottom of the first inning. That'll bring up the designated player, Mo Wimpy, batting number 6 in the lineup. Wimpy starting just her second game and appearing in only 4 out of the 12 that Purdue has played. She is 0 for 3 from the plate. Here is the first offering from Sarah Lehman that is off the plate, so it's ball 1. Wimpy played in 9 games a year ago, starting 1, and she collected 3 hits and 10 at-bats. Here's the 1-0 to her that hits that inside corner, so it's strike 1. Sarah has really been able to spot many of her pitches inside, especially inside. And when they were down in Florida, she had some great command of that. Here is a hard pitch against a very solid swing, and Sarah Lehman will win that, and it now becomes a ball and 2 strikes. Echezarreta, and her last appearances as a Boilermaker were in the circle. Here's a pitch that's away, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. In the final game against Maryland, an 8-1 loss, she began the game in the circle going 1 1/3 innings, gave up 3 hits, 4 earned runs, walked a couple, and struck out 1. Here is the 2-2 that Echezarreta will foul back into the backstop. She also pitched in the first game of the 3-game set against the Maryland Terrapins. Echezarreta, but went only 1/3 inning, gave up 2 hits, a run that was earned, struck out 1, and faced only 3 batters in that 4-1 loss. Here's a 2-2 pitch that's down and in on Echezarreta. Last time these two teams played was March 23rd of 2019. Here is the 3-2 that's fouled back by Echezarreta. Purdue won that game 4-2. They won the series as well. That in Coach Renee Gillespie's first season as the Hawkeye head coach. Here's the 3-2 again to Echezarreta. This one she lifts just into the outfield between Nia Carter and Briley Klosterman, and Carter calls off Klosterman to make the catch, and it's the second out of the inning. So Becca Jones will step into the batter's box. Becca, the junior, playing left field. Becca, a utility type player from Raleigh, North Carolina, and a junior right-handed batter. Batting 161, has started 12 of the 13 games that she has played for the Boilermakers. Looks at a pitch that's down and in. She has 5 hits in 31 at-bats. A double and a triple are her extra base hits. Jones coming off a season a year ago in the pandemic-shortened season. Here's the pitch that she squares the bunt on, tries to put the bat on it, and Sarah throws it right by her. She started 15 of the 25 games she played last year, 12 hits and 48 at-bats. She scored 13 runs, so once she gets on, she can move around the base paths. 3 doubles, 2 triples, and she also clubbed a home run a year ago. So she's got some pop in that bat. And in watching these Purdue Boilermakers, they're all taking some pretty good cuts at the pitches that Sarah Lehman is doling out to them. Sarah up in the count now, 1 ball and 2 strikes on Becca Jones. Iowa leads it 1-0. We're in the bottom of the second inning. Here is the 1-2 that Sarah throws right by Becca Jones and gets her first strikeout of the game. 3 up, 3 down. Purdue scoreless, Iowa with 1 coming to bat in the top of the third inning, and the Hawks will send to the plate Riley Sheehy, Grace Baines, and Denali Lecker. And some other Iowa sports news. Of course, the basketball teams, the men's team, were finished off last week or earlier this past week by the Oregon Ducks, 95-80 in the NCAA basketball tournament second round. But what a season these guys had. And congratulations to Luka Garza for all the awards that he has accumulated, for the records that he has set, for the leadership that he has provided for that Iowa men's basketball team, and Jordan Bohannon. Can't talk about Luka without talking about Jordan. Jordan Bohannon really had a nice career with the University of Iowa. Fun to watch, good basketball player. Unfortunately, that it had to come to an end at that time. Hawks ended 22-9, 14-6. The University of Iowa women's basketball team in action tomorrow against the top-ranked number 1 seeded Connecticut Huskies. Here is a hit out to right field by Riley Sheehy that is caught, and it's the first out of the inning. That's a noon start tomorrow. Iowa and UConn in the Sweet 16. Rob Brooks and Jamie K.V. Lang will have that broadcast for you. That'll be radio side. There'll be WMT and KXIC. And Denali Lecker comes to the plate. Grace Baines is up for the Hawks. Grace popped out to second base in her first at-bat. And here is the 102er that's up and away. Sydney Bates got a little steam on those pitches. She can off-speed it and she can throw it hard. Grace Baines, a freshman from Kansas City, Kansas, batting 122 coming into the game, 5 hits and 41 at-bats. Here is the 2-0 that home plate umpire said she went around on as she tried to check it. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike on the freshman Grace Baines. Really having a nice freshman season. She's on a 3-game hitting streak coming into today's game. She's hit positively for the last 5 games. Here is the 2-1 that is down the right field line, and the right fielder in foul territory making a diving effort to catch it cannot. So Grace Baines remains alive in this at-bat. Grace, her 5 hits, 3 of them have come one at a time against Maryland in those in the 3-game series against Maryland 2 weeks ago. She also got a single against Penn State in the second game of that series on the same weekend. And the first hit of her career came against Michigan State in game number 2 back on the 28th of February. That, albeit a double. Here's one that she lines off the pitcher, Sydney Bates, and over to first base. Bates able to pick it up and get Grace Baines before she crosses first base safely. 2 gone, and Iowa's top of the third brings up Denali Lecker. And I know you're wondering, Denali, the first thing you think about is Denali State Park, and that's very true, and that's how she got her name. Her family living in Alaska at the time. Here's the first pitch that Denali will pop up to the infield. Short left field, and making the catch out there is Becca Jones. Denali Lecker, named after Denali National Park in Alaska when they were living in Alaska when she was a younger girl. So that'll do it for the Hawks. Quickly, in the top of the third inning, 3 up, 3 down. Iowa continues to lead 1-0 as we head into the bottom of the third inning. Purdue will send batters 8, 9, and 1 to the plate. So Kendall Chase will be the first batter for the Purdue Boilermakers heading into the bottom of the third inning. Chase, in their last weekend in Florida, had only 2 official at-bats but played in all 3 games. And she collected no hits. A 167 hitter coming into the game today. 1 hit and 6 at-bats. Batting number 8, playing second base, the junior from Orlando. Here's one that she'll ground right to Grace Baines at short. Grace with a nice pickup and a throw across the diamond for the first out of the Purdue bottom of the first inning. Hawks lead at 1-0. Got it going quickly. Riley Sheehy with a single. She was driven home on a double by Denali Lecker. Milkowski would follow with a walk. Burns with an infield hit, loaded the bases, and then Arely Bogart in that top of the first inning would ground out to end the Hawks. And that's where we stand now, 1-0 Iowa. Riley Scott will step to the plate. Here's the first offering from Sarah Lehman, and the slap hitting Scott fouls it down the left field line. Riley Scott with no batting stats to speak of is down on the count at no balls and a strike. Here's a nice pitch by Sarah, painting that corner. No balls and 2 strikes on the number 9 hitter, Riley Scott, outfielder from Terre Haute, Indiana, not far from West Lafayette. Here's the 0-2 from Sarah Lehman to Scott, one that she'll slap, and this one goes behind the backstop. So the count remains the same at no balls and 2 strikes. Well, actually, got to get verification on that one. Riley Scott is out. And that brings up the top of the order. Well, now we've got Cora Bassett at the plate. She'll bump one right back to Sarah, scoop and throw to first base, and that will end the inning. Well, that was a quick inning. Iowa still leads at 1-0 as we head into the top of the fourth inning. And so the Hawks leading at 1-0, and they'll head into the top of the fourth inning. Lindy Milkowski will lead it off for Iowa when play resumes. So play will resume here. Lindy Milkowski. Milkowski had quite the series in the Maryland series where she went, and we'll get to you here in a second. She was 3 for 6 in that series. 2 for 2 in the final game. She looks at a pitch at strike one in this at bat. She had a 2 RBI single that scored the winning run for the Hawks in the bottom of the 8th inning in that Maryland win. Here's an off-speed pitch that is, they thought that Milkowski partly went around. Here's a pitch and a strike. Swing and a miss by Milkowski. In the Penn State series, Milkowski started game number 3 and did not play in the first 2 games. She was 1 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts there. Here's a pitch to her that she'll get around on and lace down the left field line, but foul. So she's down to the count of 1 ball and 2 strikes against Sydney Bates, redshirt senior. 1-0 Iowa leads. Here's the pitch to Milkowski. She'll lace another one down the left field line. And here's a pitch that's down and away. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Trying to get confirmation on the last at bat for Purdue. They went 3 up, 3 down. They had 2 ground outs, and Rachel Becker was called out for stepping on the plate. For the 3rd out. So we'll see where they're at when we come back to Purdue Boilermaker at bat. Here's a 3-2 pitch now coming to Milkowski from Bates, and it's down and away, bounces across the plate, and the Hawks get their leadoff runner on. And Lindy Milkowski, that's the first walk issued by Sydney Bates, and on the season, Bates with her 10th walk, 9 coming in, and Milkowski now down at first base. So Zoe Schulte now will come in and run for Milkowski. here in the top of the fourth inning. Zoe Schulte has seen a lot of pinch running on the season. This is her 11th appearance she's made. She has scored 4 times. She has 1 stolen base in 1 attempt. Here is the first pitch to Kalena Burns. And Kalena looks at strike 1. Kalena 167 hitter. The last hit she got was in Penn State game 1. Here's the 1-0 to her, or 0-1 that's outside, becomes 1 ball and no strikes. So she's been on a 5-game hitless streak for herself. But in that Penn State game 1, she collected a couple of hits, a double for one of them. Here is a pitch that she hits off the end of the bat right onto the right field, and that will send Zoe Schulte around second, third. They're going to send her home, and she slides across the plate safely. And a nice piece of running for Kalena Burns to get to second base. Kind of a bloop hit out into right center field that was between the right fielder and center fielder, and Zoe Schulte was already on the move, and Renee Gillespie, aggressive as she is, sends her all the way home to score ahead of the throw. And on that throw, Kalena Burns goes down to second base. And she'll be run for here in this inning as head coach Renee Gillespie trying to turn up the heat. DeSenta will come in to run. Kalena Burns with her 6th hit of the season. Harold Bogar will be coming to the plate, and it looks as if Purdue's going to make a pitching change. They've been doing that quite a bit this season. We'll talk about that here shortly. So DeSena comes in to run for the Hawks. Amber DeSena, a freshman from Concord, California. And in the meantime, the Purdue Boilermakers making a pitching change. Iowa with a run scored. Got a runner at second in Kalena Burns, who just singled. And the long single, if you will, scored Zoe Schulte from first base after Lindy Milkowski walked. And it's a left-handed pitcher for the Purdue Boilermakers. I imagine it's Ashley Peters. Purdue is coached by Boo de Oliveira in her 5th season as the head coach for the Purdue Boilermakers. Her 4th season. And here's a bunt that's laid down nicely, and Arely Bogar gonna beat it. Oh, she beat it out, and they call her out at first base. She beat it by just a half a step, but they called her out on the sacrifice bunt. She laid down a nice, beautiful bunt in front of home plate. But she does move. Amber DeSena to third base with a run scored. Iowa leads it 2-0. Here's Ashley Hamilton on the first pitch, knocking one back to the pitcher. And it is Ashley Peters, the left-hander, the sophomore, who also has 20.1 innings pitched on the season. But I think she was the best pitcher they had a year ago, throwing 34 innings as a freshman. And here is Bridie Klosterman hitting one through the infield between first and second base. And that'll score Zoe Schulte from third, and the Hawks now with 2 runs in this top of the 4th inning on the single by Briley Klosterman. Good piece of hitting by Briley. So it brings up the top of the order in Nia Carter. Briley sacrificed in her first at-bat, so it was officially 0 for 0, or 0 for 0 coming into this at-bat. Delivers with a single in between second and first base. Carter looked at a first pitch that was high and away, looks at a second pitch that's also high and away. Ashley Peters' numbers, this is her 10th appearance. She has started 3 games and 1 complete game, has pitched 20.1 innings. Here's the 2-0 that Carter will lace right past the third baseman, and in fair territory. She was playing about halfway down, and that was a hard shot by Nia Carter that she was able to get a glove on, and it stayed fair enough because she was down the foul line. It went foul after it went past third base. So Nia Carter on with a base hit, moving Klosterman to second base. And it brings up Riley Sheehy. And she looks at a first pitch strike. Sheehy in her first at-bat, actually she's had 2 at-bats. She singled and scored on the double by Denali Lecker in her first at-bat, flew out to right field in her second at-bat. Here is the 0-1 to her. And they had Brody Klosterman kind of a rundown. She got a little bit too far off. The catcher looks like she really likes to fire things around. It's Kylie Goff, a freshman catcher for the Purdue Boilermakers. She's already thrown a couple times down to first base to get runners who are straying off, to try to get runners straying off of first base. And she fired one down to short this time to try to get Riley Sheehy off of second base. It doesn't happen. Excuse me, Brody Klosterman. And so that brings up Sheehy still at the plate. She has 1 ball and 2 strikes on her. Here's the 1-2, a pitch that Sheehy will lace down the left field line. Sheehy, a junior out of Newtown, Pennsylvania, has 1 hit, including this game, in her last 6 games. Here is the pitch to her that's down and in. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ashley Peters, now the pitcher of record for the Purdue Boilermakers. For Sydney Bates. Here in the top of the 4th inning. Here is the pitch to Sheehy, jams her, and it looks as if it goes into the backstop. So Riley will remain at the plate. With a 2 ball and 2 strike count on her. Sheehy in the Maryland series went 1 for 7. Here is the pitch to her that she laces out into center field. And it's a lazy fly ball that is caught, but Iowa with a couple of runs here in the top of the 4th inning will take a 3-0 lead into the bottom of the 4th, and it'll be batters 2, 3, and 4 for the Purdue Boilermakers when play resumes. How about that national championship wrestling team the University of Iowa has? Scoring 129 team points and actually having the meet won before even going into the national finals last Saturday night. Spencer Lee won the 125-pound weight class, 4-time All-American. Jay Ironman was second at 141. He also a 4-time All-American. Michael Kemmerer, second at 174, a 4-time All-American. Austin DeSanto placed 3rd at 133. Caleb Young, 7th at 157. Jacob Warner, 4th at 197. Tony Cassiope, 3rd at 285. Congratulations to Tom Brand, his coaching staff, and the wrestling team for putting in the effort to win that national title a week ago in St. Louis. And, of course, Tom Brand's named the National Wrestling Coach of the Year. So it'll be hot and heavy coming in to next season. We'll see if this pandemic can go away. We can get more crowds. That'll fill up Carver Hawkeye Arena every wrestling meet, and usually they're full anyway. State of Iowa with a lot of great wrestling fans around it. Milkowski comes back in behind the plate, and Kalena Burns will remain the designated player for the Hawks here. The bottom of the fourth inning, it's Cora Bassett at the plate, sophomore third baseman. It's Bassett. Here's one that she'll pop up into the infield, and just to the left of second base, it's Arely Bogar making the catch. One gone, and Purdue's bottom of the fourth inning. Iowa leads 3-0. We're in the bottom of the fourth inning. Sarah Lehman in the circle for the Hawks, doing her thing. She has yielded no hits and only walked one batter out of the 11 that she has faced thus far. And it brings up Kylie Goff, the freshman catcher. Goff will lace one down the third base line. Nice pickup and throw across the diamond for the Hawks. Ashley Hamilton, the lanky senior out of Cedar Rapids Kennedy High School. Two gone in Purdue's bottom of the fourth inning. Today a single game in this four-game series with the Purdue Boilermakers. Tomorrow is a doubleheader. Tomorrow, Game 1 starts at noon, and Game 2 approximately 2:30. But the first game will start at noon. I'll have the broadcast for you beginning a little bit before the noon hour tomorrow from West Lafayette, Indiana. And the first pitch to Riley Plostic. Her first at-bat, she popped up to Milkowski behind the plate to end the first inning. Plostic, a .360 hitter, coming into the game with 9 hits and 25 at-bats. So certainly capable of putting the bat on the ball, the number 4 hitter for the Boilermakers in the lineup. Here's the 0-1 that's just off the plate. Umpire being consistent, not giving up anything close. It has to be. Plostic, the junior right fielder for the Purdue Boilermakers. Here is the 1-1. That's up and in on Plostic. Does a nice job to lay off. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Here is the 2-1 to her. She lifts one out into left center field, and it's back, and it tops over the wall. It hits the top of the wall and skims over for a home run. It had Brodley Klosterman chasing from center field and Riley Sheehy from left field. Neither could get to it. It was going to be an extra base hit, but it hit the top of the wall and skimmed over for a home run for the junior right fielder, Riley Plostic. And for Plostic, her first home run of the season. She hit 1 home run in last year's pandemic-shortened season. Has some pop in that bat. 3-1 now the lead for the Hawks. It'll bring up Alex Echerizeta. And Echerizeta in her first at-bat grounded out to Arely Bogar at second base. Looks at a pitch that's up and away from her, so it's a ball and no strikes. Riley Plostic just belted a solo home run for the Purdue Boilermakers. And it's Echerizeta. Looks at a pitch that's up and away from her, so it's 2 balls and no strikes. For Sarah Lehman, it's the 3rd home run she's given up this year. She gave up only 1 a year ago. Here is the 2-0 that's called strike 1. Look down and away, but Sarah will take it. In her debut as a Hawkeye in 2019, Sarah gave up 10 home runs. So she's been able to reduce that with better pitching, stronger pitching, better spot placement, not getting that pitch up where batters can get around on it and drive it. Here's a pitch that's an off-speed pitch that bounces across the plate. So it's 3 balls and 1 strike on the junior first baseman, Alex Echezarreta. Here's the 3-1 to her. That's up and away. She draws a walk. So after the home run hit by Riley Plostic, Alex Echezarreta draws a walk, and it brings up Mo Wimpy. Wimpy, a sophomore designated player today. See for sure, it looks like they're going to pull her now, and oh no, she's going to bat for herself. Having a conference with Boo D'Oliveira, fourth-year coach for the Purdue Boilermakers. And it will be Mo Wimpy. Wimpy did not play in the Maryland series. Two weeks ago. She got a pinch hitting role in the second game of the Nebraska series when she went 0-1 and did not play in game one. So Wimpy coming into today's game, it's only her fourth appearance, fourth game played, and her second started, the designated player. Here's a pitch that she takes a solid cut at and misses. Nice pitch by Sarah Lehman. A home run hit by Roddy Plostic makes the score 3-1. Alex Echezarreta has just drawn a walk. 2 gone, and it's Mo Wimpy, the number 6 hitter, and the designated player. Here's the pitch to her that is called strike 2 on that inside corner. Sarah Lehman, nice spot placement for her. No balls and 2 strikes on Mo Wimpy. Here's a pitch that's away that Wimpy will not chase. Wimpy had some playing time a year ago. Started 1 of 9 games that she played, had 3 hits in 10 at-bats. A double was her extra base hit. Here's one that she'll take a good solid cut at, but it's up and in on her, and she misses and strikes out. Strikeout number 2 for Sarah Lehman, and it's the 3rd out of the inning for the Purdue Boilermakers. They leave a runner at first base, but get a home run from Riley Plostic and trail the Hawks 3-1. The Hawks coming to bat, Grace Baines, Denali Lecker, and Lindy Milkowski when play resumes. So the Hawks coming into the top of the 5th inning lead this game 3-1. Got 2 in the top of the 4th inning and 1 back in the first at bat. We'll send Grace Baines to the plate. Looks at a pitch from Ashley Peters that's called strike 1. Now Ashley Peters came in to relief Sydney Bates in that 4th inning. And is ahead in the count here on Grace Baines, no balls and 1 strike. Grace, a 122 hitter coming into the game. She has started and played in all 13 games, 5 hits and 41 at-bats. She does have a double to her credit, has knocked in 4 runs. Here is the 1-1. That's an off-speed pitch that's away that Grace fooled on, takes a cut at, and misses. Baines, a 5'7" freshman out of Kansas City, Kansas. Batting in the number 3 spot here today. Here is the 1-2 that she hits down the right field line. Can anybody get to it? And the second baseman, Kendall Chase, doing a nice job of diving for it just in foul territory, but cannot come up with the catch. So that'll send Grace Baines back to the right-handed batter's box. Here is the pitch to her that she hits to deep shortstop. Can she beat out the throw? She does. Nice piece of hitting by Grace Baines. She was 0 for 2 coming into this at-bat. That was a hit. It was hit to the right side of the shortstop. She had to go a long ways to pick that ball up. She was standing right on the grass in short, shallow center or left field, and was able to get it across the diamond, but not enough to get Grace Baines. We'll see if they officially give her a single on this. I'll check that out for you here in a minute. Here's one that Denali Lecker will lift down the left field line. Third baseman doing a great job of tracking it down. Cora Bassett and making the catch. So Denali Lecker, after doubling in that first inning, doubling in Riley Sheehy for the first run of the game, has gone 0 for 2 and a couple of flyouts. So to bring up Lindy Milkowski, here's a pitch that bounces in front of the catcher, and that'll move Grace Baines down to second base. You have to call it a wild pitch. So that is a single for Grace Baines. One gone. She now at second base after the wild pitch. And Lindy Milkowski, freshman catcher for the Hawks, she walked in her last at-bat and scored and singled in her first at-bat. Here she bounds one to third base, and now they've got Baines in a rundown. Will she get back? Oh, they get her tagged out just before her hand hits second base. Nice play. Third baseman was able to capture that ground ball. Baines, and the third baseman faked it like she was going to throw it to first, and Baines was held in spot, and they tracked her down and tagged her out. So Lindy Milkowski will be on by a fielder's choice. Grace Baines tagged out by the second baseman for the second out of the inning, and it brings up Kalena Burns. Now Burns singled in her last at-bat that scored Zoe Schulte from first base. Zoe pinch running for Milkowski, who had drawn that walk. That was the first of the 2 runs the Hawks scored to lead it here 3-1. 2 gone at the top of the 5th inning. Kalena Burns back in. Here's the pitch to her that she'll hit right to the shortstop. Fired across the diamond, and that'll end the Hawks in the top of the 5th inning. Iowa threatens early and is taken down later, and will take a 3-1 lead in the bottom of the 5th inning when play resumes. In some other Iowa sports news in baseball today, the Iowa Hawkeyes are in Columbus, Ohio. They'll square off against 2 Big Ten teams this weekend. Ohio State today and tomorrow. Today's game just underway from Ohio State. I want to assume that was a 4 o'clock Iowa time start time. And tomorrow's game against Ohio State will be at noon. Then the Hawks will play a second game tomorrow against the Maryland Terrapins, and that'll be at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And the Hawks will conclude the 4-game weekend with a game against the Maryland Terrapins on Sunday. That'll be 11 o'clock early start. Iowa baseball team 4-7 on the season. Purdue comes to the plate, scored 1 in their bottom of the 4th inning. Becca Jones scheduled for the at-bat. See if head coach Boo de Oliveira elects to stay with her. And she does. Becca Jones, the junior left fielder, struck out in her first at bat. Here's the pitch. That's called strike one. 52 degrees here in West Lafayette, Indiana, under a cloudy sky, but very tolerable softball weather. Purdue and Iowa, Big Ten softball. Here's a pitch that's away, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike on Becca Jones. Here's the 1-1-2 Becca. Pitch that's upstairs. She doesn't chase it. Becca Jones coming into today's game, a 161 hitter. Again, struck out on her first at-bat, 5 hits and 31 at-bats. Here's one that she hits off the end of the bat, out directly to Briley Klosterman, who promptly fields it in the air. Out number 1 for the Hawks. In the bottom of the 5th inning, Purdue at bat. That'll bring up Kendall Chase, the number 8 hitter, who grounded out to Grace Baines at short in her first at-bat. So Kendall Chase, a 167 hitter, 1 hit and 6 at-bats. That's only her 4th start in 6 games that she's played out of the 12 that they played coming in. And she promptly on the first pitch goes down to get a pitch that's low and flies out to right field to Nia Carter. 2 gone quickly here in Purdue's bottom of the 5th inning. That'll bring up shortstop Riley Scott, senior. She grounded out to Grace Baines in her last at-bat. Sarah Lehman ahead here in this softball game. Got a 2-run cushion going for now. Looks to be getting stronger with every pitch, but steady more than anything. She's behind in the count here at 1 ball and no strikes to Riley Scott, who goes after that pitch that was up and away and will foul it back into the backstop. Riley Scott with no batting stats to speak of. Here's the 1-1 to her from Sarah Lehman that she'll lift to Grace Baines, who had to take a few steps back and to her right to haul it in, and she does. So a very quick at-bat for the Purdue Boilermakers. They get nobody on. They go 3 up, 3 down. And heading into the top of the 6th inning, Iowa continues to lead this game 3-1. So I do mention to you that University of Iowa is selling tickets to both softball and baseball contests at home at Dwayne Banks Field, and of course at Bob Pearl Field where the Hawkeye softball team plays. $5 for a single game. Come on out, watch them play. They're going to have a limited amount of folks into the stands. It'll hold about 1,200. And they're allowing just under 50%, I think about 40%, and they'll have it apportioned out to social distance. But come out and support this Iowa Hawkeye softball team under head coach Renee Gillespie. She's done an excellent job, she and her staff, of bringing in good, solid student athletes. Got a lot of freshmen playing right now. She's building for the future, and they're really beginning to be productive. 7-5 coming into this game. And here is Arely Bogarsh on the first pitch. She'll lift it to the shortstop, and that'll be the first out for the Hawks in the top of the 6th inning. Arely now 0 for 2 with a sacrifice. And it's Ashley Hamilton. Ashley singled in her first at-bat and was doubled off second on the line drive by Nia Carter. Back in the top of the 2nd inning, Ashley looks at Strike one. Ashley, the 5'10 senior from Cedar Rapids, prepping at Kennedy High School. No batting record to speak of. Well, she does have her first hit of her senior year, so that'll change a little bit. Looking at a pitch that's down and away, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Ashley then would bounce one back to Ashley Peters in her second at bat. Ashley Peters in relief of Sydney Bates. 2 balls and 1 strike on Ashley Hamilton, the left-handed hitting third baseman for the Hawks. Here is the 2-1 to her. She'll line out into and just over the top of the shortstop's glove. Ashley Hamilton with her second hit of the game. And she's on first with 1 out, and it brings up Brodie Klosterman. Now, Briley singled in her last at-bat, was stranded at second base. That and the 2-run top of the 4th inning the Hawks had to give them the 3-0 lead. Purdue would come back with a home run in the bottom of the 4th by Roddy Plostic to make it 3-1, and that's where we stand. 1 out, runner at first in Ashley Hamilton, and Brodie Klosterman, the number 9 hitter, at the plate. See if she can make something happen and continue this scoring run for the Hawks. Every extra run you can get, a definite plus. Here is one that she'll lift out to left field. And it's over top and in between the center fielder and the left fielder. I thought that Riley Scott was there, and I think she just misjudged it. It went over her head. And at the same time, Becca Jones, the left fielder, had stopped, and it bounced in between them. So back-to-back singles for Hamilton and Brodie Klosterman. And for Brodie, that is her second consecutive single on the day, so she's 2 for 2. Runners at first and second, and we're at the top of the order with Nia Carter. Avery Guy now has come in to run for Ashley Hamilton.
Running for Iowa at second base. Number 11, Avery Guy.
So Avery Guy will come in and run for Ashley Hamilton. Hamilton with two for 3 on the day. 2 for 2 for Brodie Klosterman. So the numbers 8 and 9 hitters faring pretty well. Here's a bunt that's laid down, but foul. Trying to move those runners and get them out of a forced situation. Nia Carter at the plate. Nia having a great sophomore season. Sophomore out of Rancho Cucamonga. 386 hitter, leading this team in hitting. Here's the pitch to her that she'll just tap in the air to second base. And getting back just in time is Avery Guy. Almost had a second double off at second base. But Avery was able to get back. 2 gone. That brings up Riley Sheehy. Now Boo D'Oliviero coming out to the circle to talk to the battery of Ashley Peters and Kylie Goff. Goff just a freshman, but shows signs of being a really good player. D'Oliveira getting her point across. Sheehy at the plate. Riley singled in her first at-bat and scored and has flown out in her second and third at-bats. Sporting a .219 batting average coming in, 7 hits in 32 at-bats. And she's got teammates at first and second base. Brodie Klosterman at first, and Avery Guy running for Ashley Hamilton is at second base. We'll see what Riley Sheehy can do with this pitch from Ashley Peters, the one that hits that inside corner, so it's strike 1. 3-1 the lead for the Hawks. We're in the top of the 6th inning. Runners at first and second for Iowa. Brodie Klosterman at first, Avery Guy at second. 2 gone. Here's the pitch to Riley Sheehy. It's a pitch that's up and away. So it's 1 ball and 1 strike on the junior from Newtown, Pennsylvania. Sheehy a year ago was batting .375 when the season came to an abrupt halt. 12 hits and 32 at-bats. She's carried that over into this season, 7 hits and 32 at-bats. Here's one as a line drive out to right field. Coming around third base and scoring from second will be Avery Guy. And trying to get Klosterman at third base as she may have strayed off a little bit too far, but the home plate umpire right there to call her safe. Riley Sheehy with a line drive hit out to right field scores Avery Guy from second base. Klosterman on her way to third, and on the throw home, Sheehy goes to second. Still 2 gone in Iowa's top of the 6th inning, but they lead it 4-1 now as Grace Baines comes to the right-handed batter's box. The 5'7" freshman from Kansas City, Kansas. Baines 0 for 3 on the day. Actually, 1 for 3, excuse me. She singled in her last at-bat. Here's a pitch that's up and in on her. So it's 2 balls and no strikes. Baines on a 4-game hitting streak, including today. Still remember that long single she hit against Penn State to score Arely Bogar from third to win that game. That was a 12-inning game that Baines would deliver. That was right after Arely had tripled in a run to tie the game because Iowa was down 5-4 going into the bottom of the 12th inning. And they would score 2, and Grace Baines, the walk-off single to score Arely Bogar. 2 balls and no strikes on her here. Iowa leads it 4-1. We're in the top of the 6th inning. Grace Baines at the plate, facing Ashley Peters. Here's a pitch. It's right down the middle. It's called strike 1. You knew that Ashley was going to come after her. Three balls and 1 strike. Here's the offering. A pitch that's up and in, and it gets away from, I'm actually going to call a foul tip. So it's 3 balls and 2 strikes on the freshman Grace Baines. She has 1 multi-hit game on the season. That was 2 against Michigan State. Here, one that she'll bound down the left field line and foul. That was in game 1 of the Michigan State 2-game series. Excuse me, that was a 1 hit, and she had 2 RBIs. That hit was a double. Here's a pitch that's up and in. I think it may have hit her, but nevertheless, it's still a base on balls. So that loads up the bases for the Hawks. See if we can't cut something loose here. Denali Lecker to the plate. Denali doubled in her first at bat, scoring Riley Sheehy. She's got teammates at first, second, and third. And the freshman from Ogden taking the first pitch now from Ashley Peters, a pitch that's on that inside corner called strike 1. All Denali has to do is put it in play. Find a gap, put it somewhere where Purdue Boilermaker defenders are not. Iowa leads at 4-1. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Top of the 6th. Here is the pitch to Denali. That's up and in on her, so it's a ball and a strike. Denali had been providing some pretty good performances for the Hawks. Had a 3-hit game against Penn State in the first game of the doubleheader in their last trip to Florida. Here's one that's down and in on her. She goes and gets it and turns on it, knocks it out of the park, but foul. 1 ball and 1 strike on the freshman, Denali Lecker. 9 hits and 39 at-bats coming in. Is 1 for 3 today. Here is a pitch that's up and away from her, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. She flew out in her last 2 at-bats. Two balls and 2 strikes to Lecker, one that's away from her that she doesn't go out and chase. So it's a full count. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Another ball will walk in a run. And if Lecker can get a hold of one, put it in play, find a gap, more runs will score for the Hawks. Here's the 3-2 from Ashley Peters. A pitch that Denali will pop up to center field. And making the catch out there is Riley Scott. That ends the Hawkeyes' top of the 6th inning. But Iowa does score one more run to take a 4-1 lead. They leave 3 runners on base as we head into the bottom of the 6th inning. It'll be the top of the order for the Purdue Boilermakers. Rachel Becker will begin it when play resumes. So Rachel Becker will step to the left-handed batter's box for the Purdue Boilermakers, the leadoff hitter. Iowa's done a nice job to keep her in check. She was out of the batter's box in her last at-bat, called out, and she grounded out to Arely Bogar in her first at-bat. But in the Nebraska series in Florida 2 weeks ago, she was the terror to the Cornhuskers. She was 4 for 8 for the 3-game series, 2 for 3 in the third game. A loss, though, for the Purdue Boilermakers. But she did hit a home run, scored a run, had an RBI, obviously with a home run. 2 for 2 in the second game, which was a 7-0 win. Here's the first pitch from Sarah Lehman. It's called strike one. She scored a couple of runs then, but was 0 for 3 in the first game against Nebraska. Against Maryland, she was 3 for 10. So she had quite a weekend 2 weeks ago. Trying to resurrect that here against the Hawks. Here is the 0-1 that she'll bounce foul down the first base line. Out of the reach of Denali Lecker. Bottom of the 6th inning, top of the order for the Purdue Boilermakers. Becker last year in the pandemic shortened season led the team in at-bats with 84. Here is the 0-2 that she lifts over the top of Bridie Klosterman, hits the bottom of the warning track and the wall, but it was hit so hard in the line drive that she only was able to get a double out of it. That ball caromed off the wall right to Bridie, who rifled it into second base. But Rachel Becker with a double to start off this inning for the Purdue Boilermakers. And for Becker, it is her 6th double of the season. Leadoff hitter at second base. 4-1 the lead for the Hawks. They have some cushion here right now, but Iowa can't let get too much go away. Here's Cora Bassett. She'll lift one into foul territory that Denali Lecker will take care of. And it's one gone in Purdue's bottom of the 6th inning. Kylie Goff, the freshman catcher, now at the plate. She's 0 for 2 on the day. Kylie Goff, 4th leading hitter on the team, a .281 hitter. 9 hits and 32 at-bats. 0 for 2 here today. Here's the first pitch to her that she'll foul back behind the backstop. And it's 0-1. Goff in the Nebraska series, which was the second of the six-game series 2 weekends ago, was 4 for 9, which included a triple in the second game. Here is an off-speed pitch that's up and away. So it's a ball and a strike on the freshman Kylie Goff, who's right there out of West Lafayette, Indiana, prepping at Harrison High School. She certainly didn't have far to go to attend college, get a degree, and play college softball. 1 ball and 1 strike to her. Here's the pitch from Sarah Lehman. That's down and away. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Bottom of the 6th inning, runner at second in Rachel Becker, who just doubled. Cora Bassett then would fly out for the first out. Kylie Goff, the number 3 hitter, is up in the count on Sarah Lehman, 2 balls and 1 strike. Here is the offering from Lehman. It's up and away, and it gets away from Lindy Milkowski, and that'll send Becker swiftly down to third, now in scoring position with 1 out, and Kylie Goff a 3-1 count on her. Goff does have 3 extra base hits in her 9 total hits on the season, a double and 2 triples. Purdue on the season with 12 doubles coming into the game, and I'll make it 13 after Rachel Becker drills a double into left center field over the top of Riley Klosterman. Head coach Renee Gillespie out in the circle now talking to that defense and Sarah Lehman. Kind of get things composed. Make sure they talk about where they're going with these ground balls or whatever else is coming at them. Sarah's really done a nice job holding down these Purdue batters throughout most of this game anyway. 36 innings pitched coming in. And that's the most innings for any Hawkeye pitcher throwing this year. Here's Lima's pitch that is swung on and missed by Kylie Goff. Boy, she got a good cut at that one. So we're at a full count at 3 balls and 2 strikes. 1 out in Purdue's bottom of the 6th inning. Rachel Becker on third now after she doubled, and she moved to third on the pass ball. And the catcher, Kylie Goff, the number 3 hitter in the lineup for Purdue, at the plate. Here's the 3-2 from Sarah Lehman, a swing and a miss. It gets away from both the catcher, and the runner will score from third, and Goff will get to first on the error. As the ball went to the backstop, Milkowski had to chase it back there, and by the time she even got to it, Becker has scored, and Goff had already got to first base. So what would have been, should have been a second out of the inning and a strikeout for Sarah Lehman turns into an error and a score for the Purdue Boilermakers. Now 4-2, and it brings up Riley Plostic, who homered in her last at-bat. Over the left center field wall. Runner at first and Kylie Goff, the number 4 hitter in Plostic. Here's the pitch from Lehman. Pitch that hits it outside corner and doesn't get the call. So 1 ball and no strikes. On Riley Plostic. Here's the 1-0 from Sarah Lehman, a pitch that's lined on the ground to Denali Lecker. I think it was Aralee Bogar that picked it up and will throw out Riley Plostic for the second out, but it does move Goff to second. And Alex Echezarreta will step to the plate. She walked in her last at-bat and grounded out to Aralee Bogar in her first at-bat. She has a teammate and Kylie Goff at second base. Purdue with a run in this bottom of the 6th inning, but trail 4-2. Hawks still in control of this game. Sarah Lehman with a pitch that's upstairs. Sarah still throwing very hard. Just trying to get those pitches spotted, especially the hard ones. Those are coming in with a lot of velocity on them. Here is the 1-0. Now becomes 2 balls and no strikes. On Echezarreta, the number 5 hitter playing first base today, getting her first start of the season. She has no stats to speak of. She's done some pitching, but no hitting. Here's the one that she just pool cues off the end of the bat, picked up by Denali Lecker. She'll hustle over to first base, and that will end Purdue's bottom of the 6th inning. They get 1. Start off with a double by Rachel Becker. She moves to third on a pass ball, and then the error on the pass ball on the strike 3 count on Roddy Goff. Goff made it to first. Becker scored from third, but the Hawks shut him down from there. We're heading into the top of the 7th inning. Iowa leading Purdue 4-2. So Lindy Milkowski will start it off for the Hawks here in the top of the 7th inning. Iowa can certainly use an insurance run, but taking a 2-run lead in the bottom of the 7th inning, Iowa can shut down the Purdue Boilermakers. Milkowski on the day. She walked in her first at-bat, walked in her second at-bat, then scored, and then got on a fielder's choice. So she does not have an official at-bat. Looks at a pitch that's ball 1. So ahead of the count already. Freshman catcher. Here's one she gets around on and laces it down the third base line. Head coach Renee Gillespie had to do a little hop step to get out of the way of that one. So it's a ball and a strike on the freshman from Olathe, Kansas. Here's the 1-1 pitch that, again, she rips down the third base line. She is getting around on those pitches. But she's down on the count at a ball and 2 strikes. We're in the top of the 7th inning. Iowa leads 4-2 from West Lafayette, Indiana, home of the Purdue Boilermakers. Here's a pitch that's up and in on Lindy Milkowski. She will not chase it. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here comes the 2-2 from Ashley Peters. A pitch that she laces down the left field line, and it's a fair ball down the third base line. The third baseman's getting a lot of work over there, Cora Bassett, diving after this one but can't make the play. And so Lindy Milkowski with a base hit to begin the top of the 7th inning. Iowa leading this game 4-2. So Kalena Burns steps to the batter's box. Kalena on the day is 2 for 3, a pair of singles. She's got a run scored, helping this Iowa cause with a 4-2 lead. Burns has not had a hit since the 2 she got against Penn State in game number 1 back on the 11th of March. Coming out of last season, though, she had a 9-game hitting streak and moved that to 11 games in the first 2 games against Ohio State when she collected singles in both of those games. One of them was a home run, one of the 2 she's hit this year. So she was up to an 11-game hitting streak, and since that time has had just 2 games where she's collected at least 1 hit. Has a teammate in Lindy Milkowski at first base. Here's a rip down the third base line and out of the reach of Bassett. So the Hawks back-to-back singles. Runners at first and second, nobody out. And Arely Bogar comes to the plate. Can certainly imagine we're going to see a sacrifice here. Let Arely lay one down. Get Iowa out of the force, put some runners into scoring position. Here's the first pitch to her. She does turn squares. Nice bunt out in front of the plate, and she is going to be thrown out at first base, but it does move the runners to second and third. That's Kalena Burns to second and Lindy Milkowski to third. Airily with her second sacrifice of the afternoon, surrounded by two other at-bats that were out, so she's 0 for 2 on the day. But it brings up Ashley Hamilton. Hamilton laced a single in her last at-bat, singled in her first at-bat. Runners in the scoring position. Here's one that she'll lift down the left field line and foul. Ashley Hamilton, senior, playing third base today out of Cedar Rapids Kennedy High School, collected her first 2 hits of the season. Here's one that hit right to left fielder, and it was so shallow that Lindy Milkowski unable to tag and score. So it's out number 2 for the Hawks here in the top of the 7th inning. Brings up Brody Klosterman. Brody, 2 for 3 on the day, actually 2 for 2 on the day. She sacrificed in her first at-bat and singled in both her second and third at-bats. Stepping to the plate, runners at second and third for Iowa, leading 4-2, top of the 7th. Here's the pitch to her that's down and in. Nearly gets through the catcher Goff, but she's able to corral that with that big catcher's mitt and not cause any more problems for the Purdue defense. 1 ball and no strikes on the freshman, Bridie Klosterman. Here's the pitch from Peters, a pitch that's up and away. You can see Goff motioning out to Ashley Peters. Take your time. Let's put that ball across the plate. Let the defense work for you. Ashley Peters, a sophomore left-handed pitcher out of Rock Island, Illinois. Here's the 2-0 that's called strike 1 on the inside corner. Peters with 20 innings pitched coming into the game. Didn't start the game. Actually, Sydney Bates started, went into the 4th inning, and then was relieved by Ashley Peters. I'm assuming we'll see Peters in tomorrow's game and Bates in another game. Here's one that Klosterman will lift to the outfield. And it's caught out there in center field, and that will end the Hawkeyes here in the top of the 7th inning. The Hawks get 2 runners on base, but can't push them ahead to get an insurance run. Will still take a 4-2 lead into the bottom of the 2nd inning when play resumes. Purdue will send batters 6, 7, and 8 to the plate. So this no less than the last chance for the Purdue Boilermakers to tie the game, set it into extra innings, or win it here in the bottom of the 7th inning. They will send a pinch hitter up to the plate in Caitlin Brandstrom. And Caitlin Brandstrom has seen some action. She's played in this her 13th game, has started 9. She has 3 hits and 30 at-bats, batting just 100, and the left-hander looks at a pitch from Sarah Lehman that's down and away. Brandstrom played in the Nebraska 3rd game, and the 2nd game started the first base in the 2nd game, was 0 for 3 in that 2nd game, pinch hit in both the 1st and 3rd games, and was 0 for 1 in each of them. Here is the 1-0 or a pitch that is up and in on her, so it's 2 balls and no strikes. Caitlin Brandstrom. And in the Maryland series in the same weekend, 2 weekends ago, did the same thing. She started at first base in game 2, went 0 for 3, and then pinch hit in the 1st and 3rd games. It was 0 for 1. Here's the 2-0 pitch to her that she'll line out into center field over the top of Brodie Klosterman. Quickly, Klosterman will get it into second base before Brandstrom can get around first. That was such a hard line drive shot. Again, went right over the top of Klosterman, but it hit at the base of the wall on the ground, on the warning track, if you will, and bounced up off the wall and came right back to Briley, who was able to get it and fire it back into the infield to second base before Brandstrom was able to get to second base. So the long single for Brandstrom in hitting for Mo Wimpy. Now they've got a runner in for her. And that runner is Kiera Dillon. Dillon pinch running now for Brandstrom. And it brings up Becca Jones. Jones flew out to Klosterman in her last at-bat. That back in the bottom of the fifth inning and struck out in her first at-bat, so 0 for 2 in the day. Has a teammate at first base in Kiera Dillon. Jones, though, a very capable hitter. Hawks got to be careful with her. She squares the bunt, pulls the bat back, and now a pitch that's up and away from her, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Jones, 5 of 31 coming into this game, does have a double and a triple to her credit. Purdue able to hit the long ball. As witnessed here, they've got 13 doubles on the season, so they certainly can lace it out there. Here's Sarah Lehman with a 1-1 to Becca Jones, one that she hits out to right field. It's going to go foul. Nice piece of running and catch out there by Nia Carter. And going from first to second is Dillon, and she makes it. Baines unable to handle the throw. So on the fly out to Nia Carter by Becca Jones, Kiera Dillon gets to second base and in scoring position. Kendall Chase will step to the plate, the right-handed hitter, the number 8 hitter, with 1 out. In the bottom of the 7th, Iowa leads it 4-2. Here's one that's hit right back to Sarah Lehman, and she calmly gets it over to Denali Lecker at first. 2 outs. Bottom of the 7th inning. The number 9 hitter for the Purdue Boilermakers, Riley Scott, grounded out to Grace Baines in her last at-bat and popped up to Grace, or grounded out to, actually she flew out to Baines in her last at-bat and grounded out to Baines in her first at-bat. Here's a pitch that's called strike 1 right down the middle of the plate. Iowa leads it 4-2. Bottom of the 7th inning. Runner at second for the Purdue Boilermakers. Really no harm if that run scores, but it would get to the top of the order and Rachel Becker would be at the plate. Let's see if the Hawks can end everything right here with Riley Scott, the number 9 hitter. Here's a pitch that is down and away. 1 ball, 1 strike on the senior Riley Scott playing center field. Sarah Lehman getting the pitch call from head coach Renee Gillespie. Here's the pitch that Scott will lift up into the infield and making the catch to end the game. Lindy Milkowski from behind home plate, and the Hawkeyes move their record now to 8-5 with a 4-2 win over the Purdue Boilermakers in game number 1 of this doubleheader. An excellent pitching performance by Sarah Lehman. She went all 7 innings. She gave up some hits in the latter innings. A 3-hitter, if you will. The long ball was a home run hit by Riley Plostic in the 4th inning, and that would only make the score 3-1. The Hawks would score in the top of the 6th to make it 4-1 again. Purdue would come back in the bottom of the 6th. Started off with a double by Becker. She would end up scoring to make it 4-2, and that's where the Hawks stopped Purdue in their tracks. Sarah Lehman also did walk a couple of batters in this game while giving up 3 hits. So a nice pitching performance by the senior Sarah Lehman. And incidentally, only had 2 strikeouts in the game. Purdue does a nice job of hitting the ball. They can hit it long. They hit it right at people. Iowa wins it 4-2. That ends game number 1 of the 3-game series. The 4-game series. Games 2 and 3 will be tomorrow. Game number 1 will be a noon start time. I'll be on the air with you a little bit before the noon hour. I'm Jerry Koala. And then the second game tomorrow will be approximately 2:30. It's usually about 30 minutes after the end of the first game in doubleheader fashion. And then the game on Sunday will be a noon start, game number 4. But the Hawks win the first game to get this series started on the right foot. A nice pitching performance by Sarah Lehman. Denali Lecker with a run-scoring double in the first inning. And the Hawks would score 2 more in the top of the 4th inning. Linda Milkowski and Kalena Burns. Zoe Schulte would score on the single by Kalena Burns. Schulte racing around from first base, making it into the score. And then Burns would score on the single by Briley Klosterman to make it 3-1. And the Hawks would add another run in the top of the 6th inning. Avery Guy, running for Ashley Hamilton, would score from third. Actually scored from second on the Briley Klosterman single, and Iowa ends up winning this game 4-2 in regulation play. Iowa goes to 8-5. Look forward to the game tomorrow against the Purdue Boilermakers. Again, we'll be on the air a little bit before the noon hour for that here on btnplus.com. I'm Jerry Koala. Hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. 4-2 the win for the Iowa Hawkeyes over the Purdue Boilermakers in game 1 of the 4-game set. We'll talk to you tomorrow a little bit before the noon hour on Saturday.